Well, in fact, Madam Speaker, we're actually trying to highlight what we're trying to provide to Canadians.
One of the many big changes in the budget implementation bill is overhauling employment insurance, outlined only vaguely in the bill. The new rules could mean unemployed Canadians on EI could lose their benefits if they turn down certain jobs, or does it? The rule changes aren't clear, so what exactly is the government proposing? Joining me now is the Parliamentary Secretary to the Human Resources Minister, Kellie Leitch, NDP House Leader Nathan Cullen, and Liberal Human Resources critic Rodger Cuzner. Good to see you all.
Thanks for having us.
Let's start with you, Kellie Leitch. Why this change?
Well, you know, our government is focused on job creation, economic growth, and long-term prosperity. And we're hearing across the country during pre-budget consultations about the need to have a degree of fairness within the employment insurance system to make sure that Canadians across the country have access to skilled jobs. You know, we have an unprecedented skills shortage out there. Rodger and I were just traveling across Atlantic Canada. That's what we were hearing. We want to make sure that every Canadian has access to a job and has the skills to get into that job.
Okay, I'm not sure I understand the change, so let's start by trying to clarify that, and then I'll let the other guys in here. All it says in the Budget Implementation Act is that you will establish criteria for defining or determining what constitutes suitable employment for different categories of claimants. Does that mean that people have to work outside of their field of expertise, or how will you define that?
Well, right now the policy is being developed, but really what we've always had is individuals working to the best of their ability in their skilled area. In their skilled area.
But you don't know.
So what we're focusing on is making sure that individuals in their local labor market, with the specific skill they have an opportunity to access employment.
But you started your answer by saying the policy is still being developed, so you don't know.
We have not come to a clear definition on what that is. The government is working through that policy.
Okay, how worrisome is that then?
Well, essentially what the Stephen Harper government is asking Canadians to do, those that are facing unemployment, is essentially say, trust us. We're going to make these changes, and then after the fact, we're going to figure out how those changes are actually going to work in the real world. Here's our concern. The minister called her own press conference about this exact thing earlier in the week. I don't know if you saw the press conference, but when the journalist asked the same question you just asked, what does it mean? She said, I'm sorry, that's not in my speaking points today. I'm not willing to talk about it, because exactly what we just heard, they don't know. And after many, many years of Canadians who pay into this is not the government's money. Canadians who are working and their employers pay into this. That's who this money belongs to. After so many years of this fund being ripped off by, unfortunately, Liberal governments and then Conservative governments, Canadians, well, both, have taken from the EI fund.
That move forward
but allow this, after billions have been taken out, this is not small money, and used as a slush fund for other things. Canadians are rightly suspicious when government goes into the EI fund, makes fundamental changes, and has no idea what those changes actually are.
Rodger, what are your worries about what the change that I guess we don't understand will be?
Well, EI has changed so much over the last number of years, and as Nathan had said, changes. Liberals made changes too. They felt were necessary and were going to yield certain outcomes in the mid-90s. And they fixed some problems and created, I'll say that as a Liberal, we created other problems. But I'm going to give the government kudos on 2 points. First, the best 14, or sort of what they're doing with the best 14, and with the working on while on claim. There were 2 good provisions within that.
Explain what you mean by the best 14.
Best 14 weeks was just, that's what your rate is set on the best 14 weeks that you would claim. So that works well, especially in people that, for people that work in seasonal industries.
That's right.
And then working on claim. So that's 2 good points. But, this dark hole that she's saying, the minister, I'm comfortable in saying, the minister doesn't understand her files. She doesn't go deep into her files, and we've seen this on EI before. She said that people were getting checks in 23 days. Some were getting checks, some were getting notice of non-payment. But in this case here, I don't have a great deal of confidence. I think when I come from a region that picks up, 54% of the GDP in the Atlantic region is drawn from seasonal industries, I'm concerned about the measures.
Okay, I want Kellie to respond, but just, I don't know if you can, you say the policy is not cemented yet, so maybe you can't answer this, but would this mean, for instance, and because there's a vacuum, I'm speculating, would this change mean that a teacher would have to take any job in their field, in any way related to their field, or not?
Or in a field.
Or because they wouldn't get EI. Does a teacher have to go waitress, for instance? Would it mean that under this?
So let's be very clear. We have an unprecedented skills shortage across the country. We're having trouble making sure that those employers that need employees in skilled trades and even in low-skilled jobs have individuals to fill that gap.
Sure.
So I don't think the issue is whether or not a teacher is going to be able to find a job as a teacher or a metal worker is going to be able to find a job as a metal worker. We have lots of jobs available in local labor markets. We want to make sure that the employment insurance program is fair and that it's aiding individuals to become involved in their local labor market in their skill in that area.
No, but see, no, those aren't, those last two conditions that Kelly just threw in there are not in any of the government's prescriptions at all. There's a very important word that gets used by the government called suitable.
Hang on, let me finish.
Allow me to, the government says you will go and work in suitable fields. Where in the country, the government's going to decide whether that's suitable for you or not. So here's what happens. Someone gets thrown out of work. Their company goes out of work. We've been losing a lot of manufacturing jobs. Someone's no longer able to work there. They apply for EI, and the government says, no, 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 we're not going to give you EI until you go and take this job on the other side of the country doing something totally different, because we've just decided that that is actually suitable for you and your family.
Nathan,
without
I think
anything,
you know that's not going to happen.
Well,
I think you know that.
But I mean, a fair point. There's nothing that clarifies what Nathan is saying.
Let's be very clear. This is a lot of fear-mongering. I think what the issue is that, as I said, we do have policy coming forward. I encourage people to be open-minded about that.
We're going to make
there
that.
are individuals
If I could give you an,
in
if I could give
Rogers
you,
riding that right now to make their own decisions.
If I could sort of give you a for instance, Rosie.
Okay. Yep.
Okay. And it's not black and white. There are examples. A single mother living in Shetty Camp, okay, and she gets a job offer, a minimum wage job offer down in Margaree Valley. Well, there's no access to public transit. There's no public daycare. So finding a babysitter, paying a babysitter, trying to find a job, a drive, those things become a challenge, especially in rural communities. I don't have a great deal of confidence that this Conservative government understands the reality that is.
And your concern is that that person would be forced to take the job or not get
or lose benefits.
Here's the concern:
or lose benefits.
We just heard.
And Kelly.
The Conservatives, and Kelly included, feel very comfortable voting on a major change about how employment insurance works in this country without having any of the details behind it. This is what I don't understand. This huge omnibus bill that we're dealing with, which I believe contains so many different things that even when the Prime Minister was in opposition said this is wrong for governments to do, right? Mr. Harper said this many times. Now they think it's a good idea, and they're going to vote on it blind. And they're asking us, as opposition and Canadians, to just trust a government who simply doesn't understand employment insurance at all.
I guess what I would say is that employment insurance right now does talk about being reasonable. I have a lot of people in my riding that are in a large rural riding, just like Rogers. And am I concerned, would I want someone in my riding to be having to drive 200 kilometers to go to work? No. I think the issue here, as is stated in what the minister has moved forward with and what we've stated in the budget, is the issue of reasonable. And so we want to make sure,
according to who?
And we've heard this across the country. I did 18 pre-budget consultations. Ministers were across the country in January, February, and March. What we heard from Canadian employers and employees is we have an unprecedented skills shortage. We need people to be employed.
I think you've made that point a couple of times. Will this happen through legislation or regulations? We're hearing regulations.
My understanding is regulation, but I would need to confirm that with the minister.
Okay, and if it's regulations, then where? I guess I'm perplexed as to why you announced the policy without knowing what the details would be. It seems like a strange way for the government to operate, to announce a policy in the budget implementation bill without knowing what it was you were going to announce.
As I mentioned, we did extensive pre-budget consultations. We spoke with Canadians. We consulted with Canadians across the country through the pre-budget consultation. This is what they asked for. They asked
but shouldn't you be
to
able
make
to explain,
employment insurance fair and to make
stage?
sure that it was people could have reasonable opportunities for employment.
Last point,
this is about basic, simple governance, right? Having an idea that you want to present to Canadians, knowing what the idea is going to mean to Canadians, and then having that discussion. We can see here today, we saw it in the minister's own press conference earlier, they don't actually know how this is going to apply to Canadians, and what they're saying is, you just got to trust us. Well, Canadians who trusted them on fighter jets are now feeling that they got the numbers completely misled to them. So,
Roger,
come on.
15 seconds.
Well, no, we've seen regulations come out. The government's come out with a bold statement, and they're going to fix this problem or problem A or problem B, whatever, and then come back with regulations that totally pencil out a great number of Canadians. And so we're concerned. Both opposition parties are concerned, and I think with good reason.
Okay, when will we get answers? I'll just end it on that. Do you have an idea? Soon?
Very soon. The government has been focused on this. This is something that was paramount and spoken about at length during the pre-budget consultations. As I said, we spoke to Canadians across the country. This is a very concerning issue for them. They want employment insurance to be fair and offer opportunities for Canadians to get access to employment.
We await details. Thank you all. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much, Rosemary.
Thanks, Rosemary.